Bryan.
Thank you, Byron. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming this morning. This is a dream come true. 400 of my closest friends in a room, a podium and a microphone. There's a few things I'd like to get off my chest, but we've actually got a lot of work to do today, so Jim, I'll catch you up on these things later, the things I want to see changed in the state. And Premier, if you're interested, I've got some tips for you as well. Now, I know you all want to hear the Premier and Jim talk, so I'm going to be as quick as I can, but I do have a little bit of a setup, a little bit of background information to give you, so I'll go through it as quickly as I can. First, why are we here and what are we going to do today? It's my job to help you understand that. Our purpose today here is pretty simple. Essentially, we're here to just discuss and consider the paper, SA Connected, which was released a few days ago. For myself, being late at night in my private time, being an electric guitar rock hero, I love the sound of feedback, so that's what I want to hear today. Our teams have put a lot of time and effort into SA Connected, but we're not precious about it. If it's wrong, tell us. If it's right, tell us. If there's things missing, tell us. We really want your input and feedback. This strategy summit is the beginning of the public consultation around SA Connected. That period will run through April. Andrew will touch on that a little bit later. If you have any questions especially during the interactive period, or at any point in time, you see up the back there some very good-looking people waving at you. There are people in my team that can help you. Grab a hold of myself, Christian over there, Nick in the side over there. Any of us can help you out. So, what is our agenda for today? It's pretty simple. There's a couple of copies for you on the tables there. After I finish speaking, the Premier will speak, and then after the Premier, we're going to have Peter Fulton. Peter Fulton is the Regional Manager, SA Northern Territory for Technology One. If you don't know Technology One for over 25 years has been providing deeply integrated enterprise software solutions for business, government, financial services, health and community, education, and the utility sectors. We're then going to have table-based discussions and some lunch. Not surprisingly, our very busy Premier has some other commitments. He needs to leave, so he does not get the free lunch that we offered the other government people here. But like Byron, I'm going to exhort you here, don't leave early. Two things. One is you miss the opportunity to engage with your colleagues and have your input at this forum. Second thing is we'll see you, we'll notice. It'll be shameful as you're walking out. You don't want that. You want to be known as some of the people that stayed through to the bitter end. While all of this is going on, we've set up with the AAA a very simple, low-key, funky instance of idea scale. You would have gotten an email this morning with the URL, but I'll just give it to you now. SA Connected, one word, .ideascale.com. Pretty simple. SA Connected is one word, .ideascale.com. So, how did we get to this point in this process? If it takes a village to raise a child, I guess I would say it takes a team to write a strategy paper. Development of SA Connected was a really collaborative effort. A lot of people, both inside government and outside government, contributed to the paper. In particular, and you'll hear more about this from other speakers, and you heard a little bit about it from Byron before, I want to recognize and acknowledge the hard work of the task force from the Australian Information Industry Association. In particular, I want to highlight Peter Fulton's contribution and Byron's contribution. They went above and beyond. They did a lot of good things. They put a lot of their own time and effort into helping us try and get this whole thing right. These are people who care, and they care enough to put the time and effort that's required to help us make sure that this event is good and that the paper is as good as it can possibly be. What I think we have here are some real true South Australians. And I don't mean just Peter and Byron, I mean all the people that were involved in the task. They're fiercely proud of the state. They know that they live here. They care about what we're trying to do. And as some of the conversations before the event got underway were going, a lot of people are saying, this is about us. Yes, there's ICT industry, yes, there's government, but fundamentally it's about us as South Australians. In my own team, they can tell you, and I'm sure they probably will, I drive them to distraction with requests and tasks and all the rest of it. So all of them have worked incredibly hard to help put this event on today. But in particular, I want to highlight Lee Tuckwell. Those of you who know me and have seen my work before know that I take a lot of credit for the great work that Lee does. And another name that I want to mention is Aaron Heusler, who has also made a significant contribution to the task that we've been pursuing here. So we had a process that led up to this document. It was part of a deep and sustained, what we called a strategic dialogue across government and then engaging with the ICT industry. It wasn't always smooth sailing. When we sent out some people to do some interviews, some of the stakeholders that we interviewed said, those aren't the questions, here are the questions. That was great because what we're getting people to do is engage around the topic. One stakeholder said to me, oh, you're push polling with these questions. I didn't think we were push polling. What we're doing is picking up on things that have come up over and over and over again in our workshops, in our surveys, in our analysis, and the analysis of others. These themes constantly come up: innovation, resilience, productivity, collaboration, service delivery. These are themes that are out there in the public service zeitgeist. They're not things that we invented, but they're things that keep coming up over and over again as being important to us, our state, and ICT in the state. In that process, that strategic dialogue process, we produced a report, which if you're interested, we can share with you. Just email it to us, email us and ask us for it. If you're inside government, you can get it through SAGE. That strategic diagnostic was trying to capture what we thought were the key themes coming back from the sector. After we did all of that work, we then compiled SA Connected. Now, SA Connected, there are a couple of bits of controversy in it, and I'll just address the two that I've gotten lots of text messages and lots of emails, and any of you in the room who know me, I don't need to hear any more about it. Those two things are the treatment that we've suggested for legacy systems and the dreaded 90-day project cap, which I'll tell you some of the more polite things that people have said to me, like, and you're joking, right? You've never run a project before, have you? And all of these sorts of things. So I just want to address those two things really directly. At one meeting we had with the AIIA, they were criticizing me because the draft as it was then didn't have a zing, wasn't peppy, wasn't sexy enough, wasn't risky enough. Then the conversation flowed into a particular sentence which didn't make it through to the final version. The sentence was, legacy systems are a bit like scabs. You pick them and they bleed. In the conversation, the people in the IAAA rolled their eyes. Oh, do we have to say that? Well, you just told me to be risky and peppy, and now you want to take out one of my peppiest sentences. And I said, I'm not taking it out unless somebody in a higher pay grade tells me to take it out. AIAA, you can thank Jim. He crossed it off, 2 lines through it, and the word no, full stop, next to it. So you win some and you lose some. But to me, the point is, that's great, because not only were we able to engage in a little bit of a tussle, a little bit of a discussion about these things, but we're able to come out with an outcome that, at the very least, we had a better shared understanding between the different sides, between government and the ICT industry. Now, we probably still don't agree 100% on position on legacy systems, that is AIAA and the government position. And in SA Connected, what we argue for with legacy systems is putting wrappers around them, containerizing them. This isn't meant to be a license for departments to go off creating lots of tangled spaghetti bespoke code around their systems. This is a deliberate incrementalist, minimalist sort of strategy. You might ask why, and my response would be because in consultations with good people such as yourself, in analysis, looking at what other jurisdictions are doing, UK and other places, this is what comes up over and over again. A minimalist, direct sort of incremental strategy rather than the dreaded rip and replace and the associated risks that go along with it. Now, the 90-day project limit or cap, a lot of controversy about this. A lot of people telling me that I just simply don't know what I'm talking about. So I just want to explain very briefly. There is an absolute mountain of evidence from past project performance. Not talking about South Australia, I'm talking globally here. We've collected that into a report, which if you're interested, we can share with you. And it proves over and over again, big projects, big ICT-enabled or ICT-supported projects, big ICT-enabled supported projects in government are just trouble. They fail more often than they succeed. This is a fact. So Maybe the 90-day cap is silly. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. But what we need is an alternative. Because if we go into projects knowing that science, evidence tells us that more often than not they fail, I just don't think that that's good enough. We need to think of better, other approaches. Maybe the 90-day rule, maybe that's silly, I don't know. But we need to hear what the alternatives to that approach are, because continuing on commissioning these big projects isn't really the way we want to go. So probably leave it at that. The last thing that I want to say is that the most constant bit of feedback that I get on the paper both kind of amuses me and I must say confuses me. Maybe it's a peculiarly South Australian thing. As you can tell from my accent, I wasn't really born here. So I'm still trying to adjust to the culture. So this common reaction is everybody keeps saying to me, it all sounds good, but. And I just think, well, if it all sounds good, why don't we just have a go? Why put the but there? On that note, I'd like to introduce to you the Honourable Jay Weatherall, Premier for the state, and let him have a go with his presentation. After Premier, we'll hear from Jim. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Brian, and can I acknowledge Jim Hallion, Peter Fulton, and our platinum sponsor and NEC State Manager, Chris Corty, as well as members of the South Australian Senior Management Council, members of the South Australian Executive Service and AIIA South Australian Council members and staff representative, Andrew Mills,